You know that feeling when you're sitting in an auditorium full of hundreds of people, but you've never felt more alone in your entire life? That was me on what was supposed to be the proudest day of my life, my graduation day from medical school. 4 years of sleepless nights, endless studying, countless sacrifices, and when they called my name to receive my diploma, I looked out into that sea of faces expecting to see the people who mattered most to me. Instead, I saw empty seats where my family should have been. My name is Jake, and this is the story of how my family's ultimate betrayal led to the most satisfying revenge I've ever executed. But before I tell you how I got them back, let me paint you the full picture of just how devastating that day really was. Picture this. You've just spent 4 grueling years in medical school. You've missed family gatherings, birthday parties, holidays, all because you were buried in textbooks studying anatomy, pharmacology, pathology. You've lived on ramen noodles and coffee, pulled all-nighters that turned into all-weekers, failed relationships because you simply didn't have time to maintain them. All of this sacrifice was building toward one moment, one single day when everything would be worth it, your graduation day. For months leading up to graduation, I had been talking to my family about this day. I sent them the invitation the moment I received it. I called my parents, my sister Emma, my brother Tyler, even my grandparents. I told them how much it would mean to me to have them there, how this wasn't just my achievement, but a culmination of everything our family had worked toward. My parents had always talked about how proud they would be when one of their children became a doctor. This was that moment. 2 weeks before graduation, I called my mom to confirm the details. "Mom, you guys are still coming to my graduation, right? It's next Saturday at 2 p.m. I can get you tickets if you need them." "Of course, honey," she said. "We wouldn't miss it for the world. Your father already took the day off work, and Emma and Tyler are so excited to see their big brother graduate as a doctor." I felt this warm feeling in my chest. After years of feeling like I was struggling alone, my family would finally be there to witness the payoff. I even made dinner reservations at this fancy restaurant downtown for afterward. I wanted to celebrate with the people I loved most. The night before graduation, I called everyone one more time just to make sure. My dad answered the phone. "Hey, Dad, just wanted to confirm you guys are all set for tomorrow. The ceremony starts at 2, but you should probably get there by 1:30 to find good seats." "Absolutely, son. We'll be there with bells on. This is your big day, and we're so proud of you." I went to bed that night with a smile on my face. Tomorrow, everything would be perfect. Graduation morning arrived, and I was buzzing with nervous energy. I put on my cap and gown, looked at myself in the mirror, and felt like I was looking at a real doctor for the first time. I texted my family group chat, "Big day, can't wait to see you all there, love you guys." Emma replied with a bunch of celebration emojis. Tyler sent back, "So proud of you, bro." Mom wrote, "We love you so much, honey. See you soon." I got to the venue early for the pre-ceremony photos and preparation. As graduates, we had to line up alphabetically and wait in this holding area before walking into the main auditorium. I kept checking my phone, hoping to see messages from my family saying they had arrived and found their seats. Nothing. 30 minutes before the ceremony, I called my mom. It went straight to voicemail. I tried my dad. Voicemail. Emma. Voicemail. Tyler. Voicemail. That's weird, I thought. Maybe they're all in the car together and don't want to use their phones while driving. They're probably just running a little late. The ceremony began and we started our processional into the auditorium. As we walked in, I scanned the crowd looking for familiar faces. The place was packed. Hundreds of family members, friends, loved ones, all there to celebrate their graduates. But I couldn't spot my family anywhere. I figured they were just seated somewhere I couldn't see from the processional line. We took our seats, and the dean began his opening remarks. I was in the 3rd row, and I kept turning around, looking for my parents, my siblings, anyone. The family section was right behind us, and I should have been able to spot them easily, but I couldn't see them anywhere. My heart started to sink, but I tried to stay positive. Maybe they were running late and would slip in once the ceremony had started. Maybe they were watching from the back of the room. There had to be an explanation. The ceremony progressed through various speeches, awards, and recognitions. With each passing minute, my anxiety grew. I kept checking my phone under my graduation program, hoping for a text explaining where they were. Nothing. Then came the moment I had been waiting for 4 years. Now, we will present diplomas to our graduating class. When your name is called, please approach the stage." They started with the A's, then worked their way through the alphabet. My palms were sweating, and my heart was pounding, not just from the excitement of receiving my diploma, but from the growing realization that something was very wrong. Jake Harrison. That was it. My moment. I stood up and walked across that stage, shook hands with the dean, received my diploma, and looked out into the audience. This was supposed to be the moment when I saw my family cheering for me, taking pictures, celebrating the culmination of everything we had worked toward together. Instead, I saw strangers clapping politely, families celebrating their own graduates. But no one was there for me. No one was cheering my name. No one was taking pictures of this moment that I would never get back. I walked off that stage holding my diploma, and I felt completely empty inside. It was like someone had just punched me in the stomach and knocked all the air out of my lungs. This was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life, and instead, I felt more alone than I ever had before. The rest of the ceremony was a blur. I sat there in a daze, trying to process what had just happened. Other graduates were texting their families, getting congratulations messages, making plans for celebration dinners. I sat there staring at my silent phone, wondering how the people who claimed to love me most could just not show up to the most important day of my life. After the ceremony ended, I lingered in the auditorium as families reunited with their graduates. Everywhere around me there were hugs, tears of joy, photos being taken. I just stood there alone in my cap and gown, holding my diploma, watching everyone else celebrate with their loved ones. I tried calling my family again, all voicemails. I sent a text to the group chat. "Where are you guys? The ceremony is over." No response. I drove home in silence, still wearing my graduation regalia, my diploma sitting on the passenger seat next to me. The dinner reservations I had made were in 2 hours. Maybe there was still time for them to show up and explain what had happened. Maybe there was some kind of emergency, and they would call soon to apologize and reschedule our celebration. I got home and waited. I changed out of my cap and gown and hung them carefully in my closet. I looked at my diploma and tried to feel proud, but all I felt was this crushing disappointment and confusion. 6 o'clock came and went. Our dinner reservation time passed. Still no word from my family. At 8 p.m., I finally got a text from Emma. "Hey, sorry we missed your graduation. Something came up. Congratulations, though." Something came up? That's it? 4 years of medical school, the most important day of my life, and something came up is the explanation I get? I called her immediately. This time she answered. "Emma, what the hell happened today? Where were you guys? Where was everyone?" "Oh, Jake, I'm so sorry. We really wanted to be there, but, well, something more important came up at the last minute." More important? More important than my medical school graduation? What could possibly be more important than that? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then Emma said something that made my blood run cold. "Well, Melissa was having her graduation party today, and we all decided to go to that instead." Melissa, my younger cousin Melissa. She was graduating from high school. High school. They chose a high school graduation party over my medical school graduation. Are you kidding me right now, Emma? You chose Melissa's high school graduation party over my medical school graduation? High school? You can't be serious. "Well, Jake, it's not like that. It's just that, well, Melissa's party was going to be more fun and we thought your graduation would be kind of boring. You know, just a bunch of speeches and formal stuff. Melissa had this big party planned with a DJ and everything." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own sister, my own family, had chosen a high school graduation party with a DJ over witnessing me receive my doctorate degree. They had chosen fun over supporting me on the most important day of my life. Emma, do you understand what you're saying right now? Do you understand that I just spent 4 years sacrificing everything to become a doctor, and when it came time for my family to show up and support me, you all chose a teenager's party instead? Jake, don't be so dramatic. It's not that big of a deal. You still graduated, right? We can celebrate some other time. Some other time. As if this was something that could be rescheduled. As if I could just graduate from medical school again next weekend when it was more convenient for them. Who made this decision, Emma? Who decided that everyone should skip my graduation? Another pause. Well, it was Mom's idea, actually. She said that we see you all the time, but we don't get to see Melissa very often since she lives across town. She thought it would be more meaningful to go to her party. My own mother had made the decision to abandon me on my graduation day. The woman who had spent my entire childhood telling me how proud she would be when I became a doctor had chosen not to witness the moment when I actually became one. I hung up the phone and sat in silence for a long time. The reality of what had happened was starting to sink in. This wasn't just about missing an event. This was about my family showing me exactly where I stood in their priorities. This was about them telling me, through their actions, that I didn't matter enough to them to show up for the most important moment of my life. But here's the thing about betrayal this deep. It doesn't just make you sad. After the sadness passes, it makes you angry. And when you're angry enough, you start thinking about how to make things right. How to make sure that the people who hurt you understand exactly what they've done and face appropriate consequences for their actions. I spent the next few days in a kind of shocked numbness. I tried to go back to my normal routine, but everything felt different now. Every time I looked at my diploma hanging on the wall, instead of feeling proud, I felt this deep ache of abandonment. This was supposed to be a symbol of achievement and family pride. Instead, it had become a reminder of how little my family actually cared about me. My phone stayed mostly silent. A few classmates texted congratulations. A couple of professors sent nice notes, but from my family, nothing. Not a single follow-up call, not an apology, not even an acknowledgement that what they had done might have hurt me. It was Tyler who finally broke the family silence. 3 days after graduation, he called me Tuesday evening. "Hey Jake, how's it going?" "How do you think it's going, Tyler?" "Look, I know you're upset about Saturday, but you need to understand that it wasn't personal. We didn't skip your graduation to hurt you." "Then why did you skip it?" "Because Melissa's party was important too, and we thought you would understand. You're always so mature about these things. We figured you'd be okay with it." "So you skipped my medical school graduation because you thought I'd be okay with it? You thought I was so mature that I wouldn't mind being abandoned on the most important day of my life?" "Jake, you're being really dramatic about this. It was just one day. You're acting like we committed some unforgivable sin. Just one day." That's how my brother saw it. The culmination of 4 years of sacrifice, the moment I achieved my lifelong dream of becoming a doctor, the day I needed my family's support more than any other day in my life, was just one day to them. "Tyler, let me ask you something. When you graduated from college, who was there?" "Well, you guys were. Mom, Dad, Emma, you." "Right, we were all there. And when Emma graduated from college, who was there?" "All of us. And when you got married last year, who was there?" "The whole family, Jake." "What's your point?" "My point is that when it was your important day, everyone showed up. When it was Emma's important day, everyone showed up. But when it was my important day, the day I graduated from medical school and became a doctor, everyone chose to go to a high school graduation party instead. Do you see the difference?" There was silence on the other end of the line. "Tyler, I need you to understand something. What you all did wasn't just disappointing. It was devastating. It was a betrayal. And the fact that none of you seem to understand why it was wrong makes it even worse." "Okay, Jake, I get it, you're hurt. But what do you want us to do about it now? We can't go back and change what happened. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to understand that you can't treat people this way and expect everything to just go back to normal." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that if I don't matter enough to you to show up for my graduation, then maybe you don't matter enough to me to have me show up for things that matter to you." "Jake, don't be like that. We're family." "Exactly, Tyler, we're family, and family shows up for each other. You all chose not to show up for me, so now you get to see what it feels like when someone doesn't show up for you." I hung up the phone, and for the first time since graduation day, I felt something other than sadness and disappointment. I felt determined. I felt like I had a plan. Over the next few weeks, I started getting invitations and requests from my family members. Emma called to invite me to her birthday dinner. Tyler asked if I wanted to join the family for their annual camping trip. Mom called to see if I wanted to come over for Sunday dinner like we used to do. To each invitation, I gave the same response. "Sorry, something came up." The first few times they didn't think much of it, but as the pattern continued, they started to notice. Emma called me after I missed her birthday dinner. "Jake, what's going on? You never miss my birthday." "Something came up." I said simply. What came up? What was more important than my birthday? Oh, I had to wash my hair that night. It was really dirty, and I thought that was more important than your birthday dinner. That's ridiculous, Jake. You skipped my birthday dinner to wash your hair? Yes. Just like you skipped my medical school graduation to go to a high school party. I guess we both made choices about what was more important to us. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Jake, this is different. That was different. How is it different, Emma? How is choosing hair washing over your birthday any different from choosing a teenager's party over my graduation from medical school? Please explain the difference to me. She couldn't, because there wasn't one. And that's when I could tell she was starting to understand exactly what she had done to me. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. Tyler's family camping trip came up a month later. This was their big annual tradition. Every summer, the whole family would rent a cabin at the lake for a long weekend. It was always one of the highlights of our family year. Tyler called me the week before. Jake, you're still coming to the lake house this weekend, right? We've got your spot reserved and everything. Sorry, Tyler, something came up. What came up this time? I'm going to organize my sock drawer. It's been bothering me for weeks and I really need to get it sorted out. You're skipping family camping weekend to organize your sock drawer? Yes, just like you skipped my medical school graduation to go to a party. I figured if organizing socks is more important to me than family camping, then that's a valid choice, right? After all, you taught me that personal priorities come before family obligations. I could hear the frustration in his voice. Jake, this is getting ridiculous. You're punishing all of us because you're mad about graduation. I'm not punishing anyone, Tyler. I'm just making choices about what's important to me, the same way you made choices about what was important to you. If organizing my sock drawer is more meaningful to me than family camping, then that's my decision to make. You should understand that better than anyone. The camping weekend came and went without me. I spent it at home, actually organizing my sock drawer and enjoying the peace and quiet. Meanwhile, I got reports from various family members about how disappointed everyone was that I wasn't there, how the weekend wasn't the same without me, how they had really been looking forward to celebrating my graduation. Now they wanted to celebrate my graduation. After missing the actual graduation, they were ready to celebrate it at their convenience. But the real masterpiece of my revenge came a few weeks later, when I got an invitation that gave me the perfect opportunity to make my point crystal clear. Melissa, my cousin, the same Melissa whose high school graduation party my family had chosen over my medical school graduation, was getting married, and she had asked me to be in her wedding party. The invitation came with a personal note. Jake, I know we haven't talked much lately, but you've always been one of my favorite cousins, and it would mean the world to me to have you in my wedding. I know it's short notice, but please say yes. I stared at that invitation for a long time, thinking about the irony of the situation. The girl whose high school graduation party had been deemed more important than my doctoral graduation was now asking me to participate in her wedding. The same family members who had abandoned me on my most important day were now expecting me to show up for hers. I RSVP'd yes, but I had a plan. The wedding was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon in September. It was going to be a big affair. Over 200 guests held at this beautiful country club outside the city. My whole family would be there, of course. They wouldn't miss Melissa's wedding for anything. 2 days before the wedding, I got a call from Emma. Jake, I'm so glad you're going to be in Melissa's wedding. It'll be so nice to have the whole family together again. We've all missed you at the family events lately. Yeah, well, I've been busy. I know, and we understand. But this wedding is going to be special. Melissa is so excited that you said yes. Absolutely. I wouldn't miss it for the world. And I meant it. I really wouldn't miss it. But not for the reasons Emma thought. The morning of the wedding arrived, and I got up early to get ready. I put on my best suit, styled my hair perfectly, and made sure I looked absolutely pristine. This was going to be an important day, and I wanted to look my best for it. I drove to the country club and arrived right on time for the pre-ceremony photos and preparation. Melissa looked beautiful in her wedding dress, and she was so happy to see me. Jake, I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be perfect. You look absolutely radiant, Melissa. This is going to be a day you'll never forget. We took the wedding party photos, had the pre-ceremony briefing, and got lined up for the processional. My parents, Emma, Tyler, all the extended family. They were all there in the audience, dressed in their finest clothes, ready to witness and celebrate Melissa's special day. The music started, and the processional began. I walked down the aisle with my assigned bridesmaid, smiling and waving at all the family members in the audience. They were all so happy to see me participating in the wedding, so pleased that I was there to share in this important family moment. We reached the altar, and I took my position with the rest of the wedding party. The bride's processional music started, and Melissa appeared at the back of the church, looking absolutely stunning. She began her walk down the aisle, and everyone stood and turned to watch her. That's when I quietly slipped out of the line. As everyone's attention was focused on the bride, I calmly walked to the side door of the church and left the building. I got in my car and drove away, leaving behind my spot in the wedding party and all the family members who were expecting me to be there. I drove home, changed out of my suit, and settled in to watch Netflix with a bowl of popcorn. About 30 minutes later, my phone started ringing. First Emma, then Tyler, then my mom, then my dad. I let them all go to voicemail. An hour later, I got a text from Melissa. "Jake, where are you? The wedding is starting and you're not here." I replied, "Sorry, something came up." My phone exploded with calls and texts. Everyone wanted to know where I was, why I had left, what emergency could have possibly pulled me away from the wedding. Finally, Emma called from a number I didn't recognize, probably borrowing someone else's phone because I wasn't answering hers. "Jake, what the hell is going on? Where are you?" "I'm at home." "Why aren't you at the wedding?" "Melissa is devastated. The whole family is asking where you are." "I told you something came up." "What came up? What was so important that you had to leave Melissa's wedding?" "Well, Emma, I suddenly realized that I needed to count all the ceiling tiles in my apartment. It was really bothering me, not knowing exactly how many there were, so I decided that was more important than the wedding." "Are you insane? You left your cousin's wedding to count ceiling tiles? Why is that any crazier than leaving my medical school graduation to go to a high school party?" The line went dead silent. "Emma, are you still there?" "Jake, you did this on purpose." "Did what on purpose?" "You left the wedding to get back at us for missing your graduation." "Emma, I don't know what you're talking about. I simply made a choice about what was important to me today. I decided that counting ceiling tiles was more meaningful to me than being at a wedding." "Isn't that the same kind of choice you made when you decided that a teenage party was more meaningful to you than my graduation?" "Jake, this is different. This is Melissa's wedding day. This is one of the most important days of her life, and you're ruining it. And my graduation was one of the most important days of my life, and you ruined that. So I guess we're even." "But Jake, we can't undo what happened at your graduation. Hurting Melissa won't change that." "You're right, Emma. You can't undo what happened at my graduation, just like I can't undo what's happening at Melissa's wedding. Actions have consequences, and consequences can't be undone." I hung up the phone and turned it off. I spent the rest of the evening peacefully counting ceiling tiles. There were 47, in case you're wondering, and enjoying the quiet. The next day, I turned my phone back on to find dozens of voicemails and text messages. My family was furious, hurt, confused, and demanding explanations. But mixed in with all the anger, I started to see something else. I started to see understanding. Tyler left a voicemail that said, "Jake, I think I'm starting to understand why you're so angry about graduation day. What you did today, it hurt. It really hurt to have someone we were counting on just not show up. If that's how you felt at your graduation, then I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry." Emma sent a text. "I keep thinking about how excited Melissa was that you were going to be in her wedding, and how devastated she was when you weren't there. Is that how you felt when we didn't show up for your graduation? Because if it was, then I owe you a huge apology." Even my mom left a message. "Jake, honey, I've been thinking about what happened today, and I'm starting to realize that maybe we hurt you much more than we understood. Can we talk?" But the message that meant the most to me came from my dad, 2 days later. "Son, what you did at the wedding was wrong, but it was also brilliant. You made us feel exactly what we made you feel. The disappointment, the betrayal, the confusion about why someone you love would abandon you on an important day. I get it now. I finally understand what we did to you, and I'm ashamed of myself. We owe you more than an apology. We owe you a chance to make this right." A week later, my entire family showed up at my apartment unannounced. Mom, Dad, Emma, Tyler, even Melissa and her new husband. They were all carrying flowers, cards, and gifts. "Jake," my mom said, "we came to give you the graduation celebration you deserved. We know we can't undo what we did, but we want to try to make it right." They had brought a cake that said, "Congratulations, Dr. Jake." They had graduation cards that they had written heartfelt messages in. They had gifts that were thoughtful and meaningful. Tyler had even made a photo album of all my medical school achievements over the years, with pictures and mementos I didn't even know he had been collecting. "We were wrong," Emma said. "We were so incredibly wrong, and we didn't understand how wrong until you showed us what it felt like to be abandoned by the people who are supposed to love and support you." Melissa stepped forward. "Jake, I know what you did at my wedding was because of what they did at your graduation. And while it hurt, I understand why you did it. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at them for putting you in a position where you felt like you had to do that. We want to start over," my dad said. "We want to be the family you deserve, the family who shows up for each other, the family who prioritizes what's really important." I looked around at all these people who had hurt me so deeply, and I saw something I hadn't seen before. Genuine remorse, real understanding, and a commitment to change. "I don't want your apology gifts," I said. "I don't want a make-up graduation party." Their faces fell. "What I want," I continued, "is for you to understand that relationships are built on showing up for each other. I want you to understand that when someone trusts you to be there for them, and you choose not to be, it damages that trust in ways that can't easily be repaired." I looked at each of them individually. "Emma, I want you to understand that mature people don't skip important events just because they might be boring. Immature people show up for the people they love, even when it's not the most fun option available. Tyler, I want you to understand that some things can't be rescheduled or made up for later. Some moments only happen once, and when you miss them, they're gone forever. Mom and Dad, I want you to understand that your children need to know they can count on you to be there for their important moments. When you choose not to be there, you're telling them that they don't matter as much as whatever else you chose to do instead. And Melissa," I turned to my cousin, "I want you to understand that what I did at your wedding was wrong, and I'm sorry I hurt you. But I also want you to understand that actions have consequences, and when people hurt each other, sometimes those consequences come back around in unexpected ways." My mom was crying. "Jake, we understand. We really do understand now. What can we do to make this right?" "You can show up," I said simply. "From now on, when someone in this family has something important happening, we show up. We don't make excuses. We don't choose more fun alternatives. We don't decide that our personal convenience is more important than supporting each other. We show up." "Deal," my dad said immediately. "Absolutely deal." "And," I continued, "we need to talk about what happened at Melissa's wedding. I need to apologize to everyone who was there and confused about where I went. I need to make amends for the disruption I caused." "Jake," Melissa said, "you don't need to—" "Yes, I do. What I did was wrong, even if I had reasons for doing it. I let my hurt and anger turn me into someone who would walk out on a family member's wedding, and that's not who I want to be." Over the next few months, our family relationship slowly began to heal. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. Trust, once broken, takes time and consistent effort to rebuild, but they kept their promise. When I had my medical residency placement ceremony, the whole family was there. When I got my first job as a doctor, they threw me a celebration dinner. When I bought my first house, they were there to help me move in. And I kept my promise too. I showed up for Emma's promotion celebration, Tyler's son's first birthday party, my parents' anniversary dinner. I apologized personally to every wedding guest who had asked me where I went that day. I sent Melissa and her husband a generous wedding gift with a heartfelt note explaining my actions and taking full responsibility for the disruption I had caused. The most important thing that came out of this whole experience wasn't the revenge itself. It was the lesson that everyone learned about the importance of showing up for each other. You see, sometimes people need to feel the consequences of their actions before they can truly understand the impact of what they've done. My family thought that missing my graduation was no big deal because they never experienced what it felt like to be abandoned by the people they were counting on most. When I made them feel that same abandonment, that same disappointment, that same sense of betrayal, it opened their eyes to what they had done to me. It made them understand that their actions had real emotional consequences for someone they claimed to love. Was walking out of Melissa's wedding extreme? Yes. Was it wrong? Absolutely. Would I do it again? Probably not. But did it accomplish what I needed it to accomplish? Without a question. Sometimes when people hurt you, the only way to make them understand the depth of that hurt is to give them a taste of their own medicine. Sometimes the only way to rebuild a relationship is to first show people what they stand to lose. My family learned that relationships require effort, commitment, and sacrifice. They learned that loving someone means showing up for them, even when it's inconvenient, even when there are more appealing alternatives, even when you'd rather be somewhere else. And I learned that revenge doesn't always have to be about destroying someone or making them suffer. Sometimes the best revenge is the kind that teaches a lesson, opens eyes, and ultimately makes relationships stronger. Today my diploma hangs on my office wall, and when I look at it, I don't feel the ache of abandonment anymore. I feel pride in what I accomplished, and I feel gratitude for the family who has learned to truly support each other. The empty seats at my graduation will always be a painful memory. But the lesson that came from that pain, the lesson about the importance of showing up for the people you love, has made all of us better family members and better people. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge is the kind that doesn't just get you even, but actually fixes the problem that created the need for revenge in the first place. And sometimes, the people who hurt you the most are the same people who, when they finally understand what they've done, become your strongest supporters. My family learned to show up, and in teaching them that lesson, I learned something too, that the people who love you are capable of change, growth, and genuine remorse. All they sometimes need is to understand the true impact of their actions. The best part about this story isn't that I got revenge on my family. The best part is that, in the end, I got my family back, better, stronger, and more committed to each other than we had ever been before. And that's a kind of happy ending that no amount of revenge could have given me on its own. If you enjoyed this revenge story, smash that like button, drop a comment below telling me what you would have done in this situation. Subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss when I upload new content.